I love the cruise. It's probably my favorite way to take a vacation. Now, I took my first cruise back in 1987 with my friends Barry and Gary, and since then I've been on about 80 cruises. Now, there isn't very much that I don't like about cruising. I mean, I like the entertainment on board, the activities, the food, and that on a 7-day cruise you can maybe get to 3, 4, maybe 5 different places, and you don't have to pack and unpack. Now, the thing I love the most about cruising is that I've been able to meet so many great people from all over the world, and most of my really close friends I met on cruise ships. Now, back in November of 1990, the three of us decided to go on a cruise on a ship, a really classic liner called the SS Norway. And it was actually when they actually rechristened that cruise as the world's largest cruise ship at that time. Now, they had a lot of great stuff on there, but the best thing that happened to me on that cruise was I met somebody who's become one of my closest friends. Her name is Jeannie, and she lives in Wisconsin. Now, since that time, Jeannie and I have probably taken about 25 cruises together. We've done just about everything. On our very first cruise, we learned how to do the electric slide on the beach at Mullet Bay. I've dragged her to my favorite beach in St. Martin. It's called Maho. We went there to watch the airplanes take off and land, and she's dragged me to her favorite jewelry store in St. Thomas. Now, we also had a fun time on a catamaran called the Golden Eagle Catamaran, where we were kindred spirits. We nicknamed the Golden Eagle the Vomit Comet because the two of us spent a lot of that sailboat ride at the back of the ship, at the back of the boat, and we were upchucking all our way back into shore. Now, most of the things that we've done have been great, but then there was the Dawn Princess. Now, Jeannie and I and about 6 or 7 others would cruise every year in the fall. And in 1990, we decided to take a cruise on the Dawn Princess. She was going to sail out of San Juan. The cruise started out great. All of us flew down to San Juan a day early. We spent that night bar hopping and restaurant hopping throughout Old San Juan. Then the next day we boarded the ship, and about 10 p.m. we sailed out. Now, normally when you sail out of San Juan, it's beautiful, but when you sail out at night, it's even more spectacular because as you're cruising out of the harbor, you pass the El Morro Fort, and it's all lit up. Now, after a day at sea, our first stop was in Trinidad, and I remember 2 things about Trinidad. It was the first time I'd ever been there, and we took a tour of the Angostura distillery to see how they make the bitters. And the other thing that I remember is the people in Trinidad are really, really proud that they have the world's largest roundabout. It's 3 miles around. Now, the next day, we sailed into Barbados. And Jeannie and some of the others decided they were going to take a tour on a boat called the Jolly Roger. Now, I had already been on it, so and a couple others, so we opted out of it. Now, the Jolly Roger is this replica pirate ship. And they would go out into the ocean, and you could swim, you could walk the plank. There's a lot of music for dancing and endless rum punch. So the 3 of us that didn't go, we decided that we were going to wait for them to come back because it was an afternoon tour, and they were going to arrive back about the time that we were going to sail. So we wanted to make sure that they made it back to the ship okay. But really, we really wanted to find out how much fun they had and how much rum punch they had enjoyed. So the 3 of us waited a couple hundred yards from where their boat was going to dock. And we could actually hear their boat before we saw it. So we knew that they had had a great time. Now, so we waited there, and it was a pretty normal the way that they docked back, and they put the gangway up, and everybody was coming off fairly normally. But when Jeannie walked off the gangway, when she stepped down on the land, she fell. And I said to the others, I said, "Oh boy, they must have had a really good time. Jeannie just fell." But when she didn't get up immediately, we knew something was wrong, and we rushed over to see what had happened. We could actually hear her crying by the time we got over there. Now, see, what happened is she took that first step, and before she could make a second step, the gangway hit her leg, and it broke it in 2 places. Now, when we got over there, the owner of the Jolly Roger had just gotten off the phone with both the ship and the Port Authority And then he told us, he said, I've got this golf cart we can take her back to the ship with. A couple of us protested that because we knew that if we put her in there, it'd probably do more damage to her leg. Now, we found a stevedore that was nearby with the pickup truck, and we coaxed him into taking all of us back, and we gently put her in the back of that pickup truck, and off we went to the ship. When we got there, we were greeted by one of the ship's officers and one of the nurses. The nurse looked at her leg and said, we can't take her back on board. Her wounds are too severe, and we can't handle it. We're gonna have to take her to the hospital here. Now, right then, I volunteered to stay there with her, and she flatly refused that. And I've got to tell you, I feel a little guilty to tell you that I was sort of happy that she did, because I didn't know how I was going to get home if that had happened. And then the officer, the ship's officer, turned and said, all the rest of you have to get on board. We're leaving now. And we threw a fit. We said, you're not letting her back on board. She's got her money, her passport, and all her stuff on board. So they sort of relented, and the rest of our group rushed back to the cabin. And this was the only lighthearted moment of this entire ordeal. As we were packing her stuff, I'd say it's more throwing, pushing, and shoving all her stuff into luggage. And we were sort of laughing about it. And I think it was the only way that we could release our tension from the ordeal. So we got back to her with her stuff, and I can't even imagine what kind of pain she was in. She was crying as they put her into the ambulance and took her to the hospital, and we said our goodbyes. Now, I can tell you that night her cruise ended, and it sort of ended for me too, because I have a pretty good memory, but I don't remember much about that cruise after that. I do remember that each night we would have an after dinner shot for her, and we kept all the glasses and we sent them to her. Now she told us about that time in the hospital there in Barbados. She was there for about 2 or 3 nights, and it's an open air hospital with the only air conditioned area was where the operating room, and she still has pins in her legs to this day. Now I can't imagine the loneliness that she was feeling when she was there, after a couple of days, they flew her back to Chicago where her parents picked her up. Now she told us that our travel agent had to fight with the cruise line and with the port authority to get her home. And the most amazing thing, and I really admire so much since then, is that the next year when we cruised again, we cruised in November, she cruised with us, and her mom came with us too. Also, the most amazing thing to me is she booked that cruise with us in February. So 2 months after she had this ordeal, she booked a cruise to come with us. Now, if it was me, I don't think I would have wanted to see the ocean again, let alone get on another cruise ship. And here she is, 2 months after, while she's still going through rehab and through physical therapy, she's booking a cruise with us. Now, my admiration and my friendship has grown over the years with her. In fact, we used to cruise just once a year. Now we cruise more than that. In fact, last year, the two of us went on 3 cruises together, and we're already planning one for this year. Now, I can tell you that I have been so fortunate to have been on so many cruises and been able to meet so many great people. But I am fortunate and blessed to have Jeannie as my friend. Thank you.